Hi there. I've gone handheld because I've been spending the afternoon doing diagnosis. I had an unexpectedly nice day, and so I wanted to continue working on the K100 and fix out why my spark plugs were wet. Find out why my spark plugs were wet. So what I've gone through is a period of inspection on a few things, and I'll take you through what I've been doing. So you'll see the bike is in a great state, but I'll run you through everything I've tested. So previously we tested the fuel pressure at this point to make sure fuel pressure was coming through from the fuel pump. We tested it coming out the fuel tank, out the fuel rail, and on its way back to the fuel tank we tested it here where it connects up to the tank. I didn't open the fuel tank to check the fuel was coming through, which was my first mistake. I then assumed everything was okay and I'd moved on, and I took apart, pulled out this connector, found pin 10. For some reason this is really struggling to focus. There we go. I found pin 10 on this connector, used my multimeter to connect up pin 10 to earth, and that pin 10 is connected to, around the front here, right underneath here, there, which is the coolant temperature sensor. That controls a lot of the EFI on this bike. So I wanted to check that was showing the right resistance for 7 degrees, and it looked to be in the right range, which then made me think, oh dear, EFI bike, is it the math? Am I going to have to look for a new control unit? Because that seems right. I've got fuel coming in. However, when I start, I got fuel pissing out, and as you can see, coming out the exhaust and spraying up the wall when it does finally catch. Then I had a moment of, am I being an idiot? Opened the fuel tank and I wanted to check that fuel was actually passing through here. Saw there was no fuel coming through, so what I've done is I've used my pressure regulator, my pressure tester, as a bypass for this valve right here. Now under here, this point, that fitting is actually a one-way valve. On mine it's become blocked, so there is nothing going up or in, so I've bypassed it with this hose, so it now goes round and comes through, and now the bike is running, and it's running on 4 cylinders, and I had it running for about 5 minutes. That's all been fantastic. That's a huge step forward from where I have been. It's taken a bit of fanny-assing about, but now the bike does run. It sounds quite heavy and quite loud. However, I now have a new issue, which is when we start the bike, hang on a second. Everything comes up. I've got a warning light and an oil pressure light, and that oil pressure light doesn't go away. And now the bike doesn't fire. So as you can see, it all stays there. Flickers. Whereas about 5 minutes ago, that was running on all 4 cylinders. So I'm going to have to figure out what else could be causing this and see where to go from here. But overall, I've made progress. It just goes to show you, when you check the fuel pressure system and that you've got fuel right through, you have to check everything. Lucky enough, I checked, and that part there is going to cost me £10, so I'll get that fitted. And then we can move on to why it's now doing this after it's got warm, because I could definitely feel like it running, so we'll have to see. Okay, it's been, as you can see, quite a period of time now. The sun's come out. My one-way valve has finally turned up from Motorworks. It took about a week to get here. Now, should just be a case of disconnect there, disconnect my quick disconnect, take off the fuel pump connector. Now, I've not got much fuel in this, so I should just be able to lift up the tank, pop off the old one, and screw the new one on. As you can see, this one has a nice rattle. It means the valve's working, I can blow through it, so it should just be a case of screw off, screw on, and then I can see about starting the bike up again and going through that problem. I've got to find somewhere to lever it or lean it up against. Really should have thought this through. But this, hopefully you can see here, is what's going to come off without hopefully ruining the tank. But we shall see, because so far most of the things I've done on here have not been simple. Alright, we'll use my cover and me as a resting point to get this sorted. This is a 19, by the way. And this set to undo. Let's see how lucky I feel. A little bit of fuel. Oh my word, that is awful. I'll show you that in a second. Try and carefully not to misthread this. The old one didn't have a washer on it, so I'm assuming with no washer I don't have to worry. It's a long thread. Yeah, I don't want to over torque this. I have no idea what the torque setting is, so let's go with that much. Let's see if we get much leakage. Let's get my tissue ready. Just in case we do get something. Now there'll be a little bit as the valve hits. But I don't think I see anything dripping out, which is good. Right, on the bike. You can see a couple of drips coming through, but I think that's from the inside. So let me put this on. There we go. I'm not concerned about the inside so much, but more that there was an issue with the thread. And we'll see how that kind of goes. That was remarkably painless. Now to kind of show you what the old one looked like. No wonder it wasn't actually allowing fuel to return. That's awful. What I might try and do is get that cleaned up and see if I can bring it back to life as a spare. Even if it's fully threaded, I might just drill straight through, and then I've got a valve that's always open, and I can put another quick disconnect on this line somewhere so that I have the option should I need to. But I'm looking down here and I see no leaks. So let's connect all that up. So that looks to be everything to do with the fuel tank and the fuel running system now sorted back out to the bike. It's still a little bit too early to start trying to run the bike. So I'm going to give it half an hour or so, clean up a touch and see if that has actually fixed everything so I can start. Yes, to say, when I was in the bypass, it was running briefly. And I say briefly, I mean I was able to maintain it. And I heard all four cylinders kind of pick up, and all four exhaust pipes were getting nice and hot. So I think that should be the end of the concerns, he says, optimistically. And then we can start working through the rest of the issues. Now, I'm tempted to put the brake master cylinder back on, but I'd like to do that all in one big hit. So I think I'll just wait now until it's a bit later and I can start the engine. So this is all that gunk that was basically sat in that tank. I'm not surprised I was having issues. This is just like, ow. How it ran briefly for a time, I've got no idea. Okay, it's 9:45. Let's give this a try. Ignition turns on. Good. Fuel pump wine, so that's good. Any fuel leaks? Not that I can see. Also good. So got no fuel leaks, got no choke, got a good battery. The oil pressure indicator light goes off when I'm cranking. So what am we missing this time? We lost spark. Oops. Okay, I'm playing with the choke to make it, or rather the fast advance, to keep the revs up, because this hasn't run for ages, but this is now what I'd say is running. I think it's on 4, it sounds pretty smooth. Yeah, I now have a running engine. There's no warning lights on the dash. The fast advance is, I'm just bringing it off the full fast advance. I think I need to play with the idle. It's not yet warmed up. But those pops and bangs, I think, were unburnt fuel initially. So I would say there's an idle adjust screw right there. And I think someone probably tweaked that previous to me. So once it warms up, I will adjust that. But I think I've got a running bike. That's awesome. It's running. There's no fuel leaking anywhere. Everything looks to be good. There's no black smoke coming out. No lights on the dash. So you can see that was actually the oil pressure light was going out when I cranked. Now it doesn't, and it was going out before. So this leads me to think I've got some kind of electrical gremlin somewhere, because it started, as you saw, got up, it was idling quite happily. When it died, it idled properly. So when it died, I can restart it. When I turned it off, just want himself to turn off the battery. I connected up the battery, or disconnected that booster pack, saw 12.1 on the battery, which makes me think the charger's not working. I wonder if I just don't have a good charge every single time, and there is some kind of electrical gremlin somewhere. He says just tapping, looking for what it could possibly be. Maybe a bad earth. But that oil pressure light doesn't go out, and it did literally 10 minutes ago. All right, what I'll do is I'll probably end it there, because there has been progress made. My fuel system works, the bike actually runs, and I'm just going to call it there for today. And I'll have a think and see if I can do some testing on the alternator perhaps. But at least my fuel system is good. I really ought to sort out the front brake. Yeah, and we'll go from there. Thanks very much. If anyone has any suggestions on the best way of testing the alternator and that warm not start, let me know. I'd appreciate it. But we've definitely made some good progress today. And I think I'm going to knock it on the head here with the noisy stuff before my wife complains or my neighbours do. So thanks very much. And say, any hints, tips, or suggestions for things, let me know. And I'll see you next time. Cheers.